All right, Daily Ticker Time here on a Tuesday, brought to you as always by Pelican Brewing with 4 locations along the Oregon coast. Fly over to a Pelican location, enjoy epic views and local brews all year long. Pelican Brewing looks forward to seeing you at the coast. Let's talk a little college hoops, something we don't do. Is this the football music?
Yeah. This is not the...
We're 0 for 1.
CBS.
Sorry, as we bring on our guests. We were hoping to get the CBS basketball music to get us juiced to talk a little college hoops.
It gets me excited.
And instead, I'm watching like Illinois versus Maryland in college football right now. I'm a little confused. Cameron Salerno joining us now. He covers college football and college basketball for CBS Sports at Cameron Salerno 1. Cameron, good morning to you, man. Thanks for the time here in Portland. We got some big games coming up this weekend, and I know everybody's got their eyes on the NFL playoffs and divisional round and all that. Gonzaga's in town in Corvallis on Thursday, and then Purdue's in town for a top 15-ish or top 20 showdown in Eugene on Saturday. I'm going to start with that one and what you've made of Dana Altman this year. As an Oregon fan, I often watch them as a team that struggles early in the year and then finds their rhythm as they get closer to March. It's been kind of weird to see him get out of the gate this hot. It hasn't happened in a while. What do you make of what you're seeing from Dana Altman in Oregon this season?
Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys. I really appreciate it. It's a good time in college basketball because I think people are realizing that college basketball exists around this time of year because the NFL playoffs are just starting and college football is almost over. So, yeah, it's a good time of year. But, yeah, Oregon's been really good. I mean, they had huge wins this season over Texas A&M, San Diego State, Alabama. And, you know, obviously they opened up with that loss to UCLA on just that crazy last sequence. And that was a wild game. And then obviously that loss to Illinois, you know, a few days ago. But, you know, 3 straight wins over Maryland, Ohio State, Penn State. And so I think they're definitely a contender in the Big Ten. I know the running joke coming into the year that the Big Ten was just going to be a gauntlet because there isn't really you know, obviously Purdue was coming back as a national runner-up, but there wasn't really a team that was kind of separating themselves from the rest of the pack. So I really still feel that way. I think there's maybe 5 or 6 teams that still could hypothetically win the Big Ten, but I really like what I see from Oregon. Obviously, they're a team that's going to be a very solid NCAA tournament team once that time comes. But, yeah, the Big Ten is going to be a gauntlet. So good luck trying to predict who's going to win that league.
Well, it's kind of a two-parter for you in that regard. I know Auburn might be your answer. They just lost Johnny Broome, and we don't know the timeline of his injury, but Auburn's 15-1, so maybe it's them. Does this feel like a pretty wide-open field? I watched a lot of that Iowa State Tech game. They had to come back, and they did, and they ended up winning. Does it feel pretty open? And is Oregon getting a little bit of a reputation boost? My co-host is a Duck alum, so he kind of thinks this. Are they getting a reputation boost by being in the Big Ten this year in hoops?
I think so. I mean, the Big Ten, is the Big Ten. I mean, it's definitely been one of the best leagues in college basketball for years, and obviously the additions of UCLA, USC, Washington, Oregon definitely made the league stronger. But I agree with your question. I mean, what you just said, because the NCAA tournament field does feel wide open. I mean, I think for years, like there was always that maybe 2 or 3 teams that kind of separated themselves, and you just knew that they were going to be there at the end of the year. And honestly, it kind of felt like that last year. Then UConn announced themselves as we are still here and we're still the national champions, and they're a team I think that you can't forget about either. I mean, I know just how they played in March is just unreal. I mean, I think all 12 of their NCAA tournament wins are by double digits, so no team has even really remotely tested them. So I still feel like it is wide open. I really like Auburn. My preseason national title pick coming of the year was Alabama just because I really love what they brought back. Obviously, Mark Sears was a very popular pick to win National Player of the Year, and I really like the talent they were bringing along. So the SEC is a gauntlet. I mean, the SEC in basketball is probably going to be better in football. I mean, obviously the SEC didn't have a 10 team in the national title game, but the Big Ten did in football, and maybe it will be like that in basketball too.
Yeah, Dan Hurley's a bit of a psycho, but his line the other day about when they're down about losing games, I'm just going to go open up my box of rings and play with them like that. Okay, that's kind of a bit of a humble brag microphone drop. We're talking some college hoops with Cameron Salerno of CBS. Give him a follow on Twitter at Cameron Salerno 1. Oregon State hosting Gonzaga on Thursday, and I don't know how much you've watched the Beavs, but I think there's some optimism there that maybe, hey, this could be a bubble team. The net rating's been pretty solid early. Gonzaga maybe not quite what they've been in some of these peak years and years past, so it's an opportunity for them. And I think Beaver fans have looked at the state of college football and maybe thought, hey, is the future Pac-12, which will begin next season or 2 years, whatever it is, going to be more of a basketball conference in Gonzaga and some of these other teams? Can we be a player there? What do you make of Oregon State-Gonzaga matchup and just what that win would mean, I guess, for them and their resume early in the season?
Oh, it'd be a huge win for them. I mean, Gonzaga is a really solid team. I know, I think Gonzaga is just one of those teams where it just doesn't matter, what year it is. They're always going to be a really solid team. I mean, Mark Few is a great coach. Got to see Gonzaga play against UCLA a few weeks ago down at Intuit Dome in LA, and whenever UCLA and Gonzaga plays, it's always an instant classic. So really impressed with the Zags. But yeah, no, that'd be a huge win for Oregon State. I mean, the WCC with additions of Washington State and Oregon State this year, has made the league stronger, and it is kind of cool to see that. I mean, the WCC tournament is like one of the most interesting conference tournaments in all of college basketball because just of how the formatting is. Like, if you get a top 2 seat, you get I think 2 or 3 buys. And you win one game, you're in the championship game. And so I think anybody's goal should be to finish in that top 2 of the WCC. I mean, obviously St. Mary's and Gonzaga both are 5-0, and I mean, I think everyone could have probably seen that coming just because of how well they've done in WCC comp, in years past. But no, that'd be a huge win for Oregon State. And if they pick up some of these wins in the next few weeks, I was looking at their Ken Palm actually last night, and they are, I think, projected to lose both games against Gonzaga and St. Mary's. So if they can go 2-2 or even 3-1 in that stretch, that may be a little ambitious, but if they go 2-2 and they split with both those teams, I think they have a good shot, and it would be a bubble team come Selection Sunday.
I think the good part of you covering the sport is we get an idea of talent as well, right? It's not just it's not just teams; it's the individual part of this. We are Blazer fans. Blazers are our team. They have not been good for a while. They're in line to maybe be near the top of the NBA draft. Thoughts on Cooper Flagg, and how would you shake out the top maybe 5 players in that regard that you've watched? Who are the 5 best players into the NBA draft stuff? It may not be the best players in college basketball, but the 5 best players to you going into the NBA draft.
Oh, that's a great question. It's a loaded one, too. I mean, coming into the year, I think there was a pretty consensus top 5. I mean, Cooper Flagg is obviously one, tier 1, I think. And a lot of people kind of forgot about how good this guy is. I joked about it on Twitter, right before the start of the season, and it's going to take about 3 games before people realize that he's the consensus number 1 overall pick. So I would say he's number 1 by far. Dylan Harper at Rutgers is a really good player. I think he's going to be kind of almost a lock to go number 2. I really like Yakachunas at Illinois. I think he's a really talented point guard. I mean, I know he played against the Ducks a few weeks ago. Ace Bailey is another guy who, I think people are, I would say mixed on just because of his shot selection. He is a mid-range assassin. He is he takes a lot of contested jumpers, but he makes a lot of them too. So I think a lot of people are mixed on him. And then I think number 5 is I wouldn't say he's the 5th best freshman this year, but I would say long-term NBA projectability, I'd go with VJ Edgecombe at Baylor. I think he's one of the best athletes in college basketball. I mean, I think he's the best athlete I've seen college basketball. I've watched college basketball for a long time. I know I'm relatively young, but I would say he's probably the best athlete I've seen since Zion at Duke. Wow. Just because he has all makings to be an all NBA defender at the next level. He throws down some highlight dunks. I know he posted Mark Few's son at the end of the Gonzaga Baylor game when, it was funny because we live blogged that game, and it was towards the end, so I kind of had my head down and writing and making sure the story was going to go before the game ended. I look up my screen, and I see someone posted somebody, and I didn't think that Baylor had their stars in still, and then it kind of took me a second to put 2 and 2 together that I was Edgecombe. So those would be my top 5 guys right now, and I think, I wouldn't say consensus because, if you ask 100 people, people are going to give you a ton of different answers. But I would say for now, I think those are the top 5 guys for me, at least personally.
Well, we're hoping to get a top 5 pick in the NBA draft, although the Blazers usually mess everything up, so it probably won't happen. But hopefully we have a chance to draft one of those guys because you just had a great selling point on all of them. He's got a piece up on CBS Sports about the top teams in the country and how they all stack up. Cameron Salerno covering college hoops, college football for CBS. Go give him a follow on Twitter at Cameron Salerno1. Thanks for the time, man. Really enjoyed the conversation, and hopefully we can do this again soon.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on, guys. Thank you.
Yeah, there you go. Cameron Salerno.
Good stuff.
Talking some college hoops, baby. Da, 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 da.
What happened?
That was pretty funny to jump right in with the football music.
Well, the last segment, he's like, we got it ready.
It took me a second to wire my brain. I'm like, that's not.
It's CBS.
And I love both their songs. I love
Yeah.
the CBS football music. Don't get me wrong.
that
I'm a
ain't the
big
hoops.
fan, but
That ain't the hoops.
that's not the hoops.
Any answer? What happened there? Did you forget?
No, I just no. It was mislabeled.
Yeah, mislabeled.
Oh yeah, right.
There's a few
You're
of those.
such a liar.
There's a few of those in there.
You picked the wrong one.
Come
you liar.
on.
Bad news, Dirt.
Should we talk about this a little bit? I am curious where this will be right up Swag's alley. It's Mr. College Hoops on the show.
We're not gonna just do a line there, or
I think he did. I think he's snorting this. I think he's snorting the College Hoops conversation.
Hooray!
he got the music wrong. He's just like, I'm over it.
Yeah, Are you following? Beaver fan, Duck fan? Are you engaged? Are you following? Are you caring? We got decent teams this year. I know your team can't win a game on the road.
Whoa, we just did. We beat Pacific.
Does that count?
Technically,
Does
it
Does
counts.
that count?
Well,
I think the Pilots beat Pacific.
We hope to do that on Thursday.
Even the Pilots could beat Pacific.
Pacific has a new coach and 14 new players.
Let's
It should be
hold.
Pacific. Hold that.
Let's
hold that
hold
for
it,
Friday.
okay?
Hold
Let's
that for
hold
Friday.
it.